call came at 6:47 in the morning. I know the exact time because I had just finished a 12-hour overnight shift at the hospital, still in my scrubs, one hand on my apartment door key, when my phone buzzed against my thigh. The name on the screen made my stomach drop 6 floors before I even read the message. My brother was downstairs. Not just my brother. My mother was with him. And from what the front desk attendant was telling me over the intercom, they were not leaving quietly. I stood in the hallway of my building with my work badge still clipped to my chest and my feet that had not stopped moving for 12 hours, suddenly frozen to the floor. I did not go down. I did not buzz them up. I stood there and I thought about the last time I had seen my brother's face, and I thought about the document I had filed 3 years ago, and I thought about the voicemail my father left me 6 months before he passed, that I still have not deleted from my phone. Then I went inside my apartment, locked the deadbolt, and sat down on the edge of my bed. Let me tell you how I got to that moment. Because none of it started at 6:47 in the morning. It started when I was 19 years old, sitting in a hospital waiting room that smelled like antiseptic and burnt coffee, watching my mother choose my brother over me for the last time. His name is Derek. He is 4 years older than me. Growing up, Derek was the kind of person who could walk into a room and make everyone love him in under 5 minutes. Charming smile, big laugh, knew everyone's name. My parents thought the sun rose and set on him. My mother still has his high school football photo on her mantle. Derek mid-throw, jersey number 12, golden hour light catching his hair just right. I was the quiet one. The one who got good grades and did not ask for much, and therefore, in my family's logic, did not need much. I was fine. Derek needed attention, Derek needed support, Derek needed everyone's energy. I learned early that the fastest way to get through a day in our house was to be invisible. What I did not understand until much later was that invisibility is not the same as safety. It just means no one is watching when things go wrong. I was 19 and a first-year nursing student when I found out what Derek had been doing. Not from him, not from my parents. From my financial aid office, who called me in for a meeting and slid a printed sheet of paper across the desk with an expression that told me the news before she opened her mouth. Someone had opened 3 credit cards in my name. Someone had been making purchases for 14 months. The total outstanding balance was a little over $22,000. The cards had been opened while I was still living at home my senior year of high school. The billing address was our house. The email address used to manage the accounts was a variation of my name, with a number at the end that I'd never created. I knew immediately. I think some part of me had always known, the way you know when a sound is wrong before you can identify what it is. I drove home that afternoon with the printed sheet on the passenger seat, and I laid it on the kitchen table in front of my mother, and I told her what the financial aid office had told me. She looked at the paper for a long time. Then she looked up at me and said, "Are you sure you didn't open those yourself and forget?" I was 19 years old. I was working 2 part-time jobs to cover what my financial aid did not. I did not forget $22,000. "Let me talk to Derek," she said. That was her answer. Let me talk to Derek. My father came home from work and my mother talked to Derek, and then both of them sat across from me at that kitchen table and told me that Derek had been going through a hard time, that he had just lost his job, that he had intended to pay it back before I ever found out, that these things happen in families, and the important thing was that we handle it as a family, which meant I was going to contact each of those credit card companies, report the cards as opened in error. And we were not going to involve the police because involving the police would ruin Derek's life. I remember the specific words my father used. Ruin his life, as if my credit score, my financial aid eligibility, my ability to pay for the degree I needed for the career I had planned since I was 12 years old. As if none of that was a life that could be ruined. I was 19 and I loved my parents, and I did not yet understand that love and compliance are not the same thing, so I did what they asked. I spent 4 months disputing those accounts. My financial aid was delayed by 1 semester. I took out an extra private loan to cover the gap. I paid interest on that loan for 6 years. Derek never paid back $1. My parents never asked him to. I stopped going home for holidays after that. Not dramatically, not with a big speech or a slammed door. I just got busy. Picked up extra shifts. Had studying to do. The invitations kept coming and my excuses kept coming. And after about 2 years, the invitations got shorter and further apart, and I think everyone understood that I had made a quiet decision. I graduated. I passed my boards. I got a job at a level 1 trauma center in a city 3 states away from the house where my credit was stolen. I built something. It was not fast and it was not easy. And there were nights in my first apartment eating cereal for dinner at 11 p.m. after a brutal shift when I thought about calling my mother just to hear her voice. I did not call, but I thought about it. I made a life. My own life. I had friends who knew nothing about Derek or kitchen table meetings or the summer I spent disputing credit accounts. I had a studio apartment that became a 1-bedroom. I had a savings account. I had a dog named Clover who greeted me every morning like I had returned from war. I had something that felt most days like peace, and then the call came at 6:37 in the morning. I did not go down to the lobby. I sat on my bed for 6 minutes and then I opened my laptop and I pulled up the security camera feed for the building entrance. My building has 4 cameras on the exterior and 2 in the lobby, and tenants can access the feed through the building's app. I had checked it exactly once before, when a package went missing. I was glad I had set up the access. I watched my mother and my brother standing at the front desk. My mother was in her good coat, the gray wool one she saves for important occasions. Derek had his hands in his pockets and he was leaning on the desk in that easy way he has, like he belongs everywhere he stands. The front desk attendant, a young guy named Marcus who always nods at me when I come in on night shifts, was holding a phone and looking uncomfortable. I took a screenshot. Then I called Marcus at the desk directly. I told him I was aware of the visitors. I told him not to let them up under any circumstances. I told him if they refused to leave to please contact building security, and I would cover any inconvenience. Marcus said, "Copy that, Ms. Carter," and I could hear the relief in his voice. My phone started ringing 40 seconds later. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again. And again. On the 4th call I picked up. My mother's voice was the same as it always was. Soft, a little breathless, the particular tone she uses when she is asking you for something and packaging it as concern for you. "Sweetheart, I know it's early. We just need a few minutes. We've been driving since 3 in the morning." I said, "What do you need, Mom?" Not a question. A request for information. She passed the phone to Derek. My brother's voice is still the same too. That easy, warm, I've got this competence that used to make me feel safe when we were small children, and now makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. "Hey sis," he said. "We really need to see you. It's kind of a situation." I asked him what kind of situation. There was a pause. I have replayed that pause many times since. In it I can hear him making a calculation, deciding how much to tell me and in what order, working out the pitch the same way he works out everything. Charm first, facts later. Consequences never. "I've been having some trouble at work," he said. "Some people are saying some things that aren't true. It's gotten kind of legal. We just need to talk to you because you might be able to help, and it would really mean everything to me." To both of us. I said, "What kind of legal trouble, Derek?" Another pause. "There's an audit," he said, "at the company, and some of the numbers, look, it's complicated, and some of it got flagged in a way that involves some transfers that have my name on them. But the timing makes it look worse than it is, and if someone who understood the medical billing side could just explain how certain coding errors happen." I set the phone down on my knee. I am a registered nurse. I have also, over the past 4 years, been working as a compliance consultant for a regional hospital network, reviewing billing records, flagging irregularities, helping facilities avoid the exact kind of audit my brother was describing to me. I know what fraudulent medical billing looks like. I know what it looks like when someone has been systematically miscoding procedures to overbill insurance carriers. I know what the federal penalties look like, and I know what kind of sentence a conviction carries. I picked the phone back up. "Derek," I said, "are you asking me to provide a false explanation for fraudulent billing records to a federal auditor?" I'm not asking you to say anything false. I'm just asking you to explain how." "How much?" I said. Silence. "How much money are we talking about?" He told me, $260,000 over 3 years, insurance fraud, Medicare fraud, the kind of fraud that does not end with a fine and a repayment plan, the kind that ends with a trial date. My mother got back on the phone. "He needs you. You're his sister. You work in this field. You know how these things look. You know how to explain it. Nobody understands it the way you do. If you just come down and talk to us." I thought about the printed sheet of paper sliding across a desk when I was 19. I thought about the word family used as a reason to do something wrong. I thought about 6 years of interest payments on a loan I took out because I covered for someone who never covered for me. I'm not coming downstairs, I said. Please leave the building or I will ask security to assist you. My mother started crying. Real tears, I think. My mother is not a performer. She genuinely believes, I think in every moment, that what she is asking is reasonable. That is the hardest part. She is not cynical. She just loves Derek more than she loves what is right, and she has never once understood those as two different things. You would let your own brother go to prison, she said. I would not commit federal fraud to prevent it, I said. Those are different sentences. Derek got back on the phone one more time. The warmth was gone. What replaced it was not anger exactly. It was colder than anger. It was the voice of someone informing you of a consequence. You know what happens if this goes to trial, he said. Everything comes out. Mom's name is on some of those accounts as a cosigner. She loses the house, her retirement. You want that on your conscience? For what? To make a point? I had not known my mother was a cosigner. I filed that information away. Derek, I said, I'm going to hang up now. I'm going to call my attorney, and I would strongly suggest that you and Mom get back in the car. Your attorney, he said, and I could hear the smile in it, that old confidence reasserting itself. Right. Good luck with that. You know what you look like? You look like someone who's been waiting her whole life for an excuse to blow up this family. Think about what you're doing. I hung up. Then I sat very still for about 30 seconds. Then I opened my phone and called my attorney. Her name is Patricia Ossie, and she has been my attorney for 2 years, originally retained to review my consulting contracts. And she is the kind of person who answers her phone at 7 in the morning and does not make you feel foolish for calling. I told her everything. The call her everything. The odd. The $260,000. The request. My mother as cosigner, she listened without interrupting, which is one of the things I pay her for. When I finished, she said, "Did you record the call?" I live in a one-party consent state. I had not recorded the call. I told her so. All right, she said. Do not speak to them again without me present. Do not let them into your building. Is there any documentation from this morning? Texts, voicemails, anything in writing? I checked my phone. During the calls, there had been 3 text messages from my mother. We're downstairs, sweetheart. Then please just come talk to us. Then, from Derek's number. This is the last time I'm asking nicely. I screenshotted all 3. I emailed them to Patricia before I got off the call with her. She told me to sit tight. She said she would make some calls and determine whether I had any legal exposure from the conversation. She said based on what I described, I had not agreed to anything and had in fact explicitly declined, which was important. She said I had done the right thing. I said, I know. I did know. That is the thing I want to be clear about. I was not conflicted. I was not sitting in my apartment crying about family loyalty or second-guessing myself. I had made this choice in some quiet, certain part of myself a long time ago. Maybe at a kitchen table when I was 19. Maybe before that. I had decided a long time ago that I was not going to set myself on fire to keep my brother warm. What I felt, sitting there on my bed at 7 in the morning after a 12-hour shift, was tired. Just tired. Not sad. Not angry. Tired in the way you get when something you always knew was coming finally arrives and there is no more waiting, just the thing itself. Present and real and requiring you to handle it. I checked the building camera feed again. They were gone. I took Clover for her morning walk. I ate breakfast. I slept for 6 hours. When I woke up, there were 14 missed calls from various combinations of my mother, Derek, and 2 numbers I did not recognize. There was one voicemail from my mother that I did listen to once, in which she told me that I had always been selfish, that I had never supported this family, that Derek had made mistakes, but he was trying and I was throwing him away like he meant nothing. I did not call back. What I did instead was this. I drafted a written statement with Patricia's guidance, documenting the conversation from that morning. The nature of the request, my explicit refusal, and the text message from Derek's number that read this is the last time I'm asking nicely. Patricia reviewed it and advised me on next steps. I also, on her advice, contacted the hospital network where I do compliance consulting and informed my supervisor that I had been approached regarding an active federal audit and had declined, so that there was a record of my position on file before anyone asked. I covered myself, not because I was afraid, because I am good at my job and I understand documentation and I have spent enough years in healthcare compliance to know that the paper trail is always the thing that matters in the end. 3 weeks later, I learned through a mutual family acquaintance, Not through any direct contact, I'd blocked every relevant number by then, that Derek had been formally charged. My mother had retained a defense attorney using money from a refinanced home equity line on the house. I do not know the current status of the case. I have not tried to find out. What I know is this. 2 weeks after the charges were filed, I received a certified letter from an attorney I did not recognize, informing me that I was being requested to provide a character statement on Derek's behalf. I forwarded it to Patricia. She drafted a response. The response said, politely and in very precise legal language, "No. I have not heard anything since." My apartment is quiet these days. Clover is asleep on the couch right now, tucked into the corner cushion with her chin on her paws, making the small breathing sound she makes when she is deeply comfortable. Outside my window, the city is doing what cities do, moving and making noise, indifferent to all of it. I want to say something to anyone watching this who recognizes any piece of what I just described. Not just the fraud, not just the legal part. The other part, the part where you are standing in a hallway at 7 in the morning, key in your hand, 12 hours of work still on your body, and your family is downstairs and you have to decide. You are allowed to know things. You are allowed to have learned things from what happened to you and to apply that knowledge. Being someone's sister or daughter or brother does not obligate you to unlearn everything you know. It does not obligate you to provide cover for things you know are wrong. It does not obligate you to be available at any hour for any ask, no matter what it costs you. The people who will use the word family as the reason you should comply are the same people who never use the word family to mean you deserved protection. That is worth sitting with. I changed my phone number 2 months after that morning. I notified my building's front desk with updated emergency contacts. I kept the screenshot of the security camera feed, the screenshots of the texts, the voicemail, the drafted statement, everything in a folder in my cloud storage that I backed up twice. Not because I think I will need them, because documentation is how you protect yourself from a revisionist history, and I have learned, slowly and at considerable cost, that the most important story to get right is your own. Clover just lifted her head and looked at me, the way she does sometimes, like she is checking that I am still here. I am still here. I am fine. I am more than fine. Thank you for being here with me. If this story hit close to home for you, leave a comment. I read every single one. And if you know someone who needed to hear this today, share it with them. I will see you in the next one.